Have you ever looked at the whole digital world and felt like it's just this incredibly complex, constantly shifting maze? One day there's a huge cyber attack hitting the news. The next day, some company gets slapped with a massive fine over regulations. It's a lot. So today on the Deep Dive, we're going to try and cut through some of that complexity. Our mission, really, is to untangle two really critical concepts: cybersecurity and compliance. They get confused all the time. They're fundamental for any resilient organization. We want to show how they actually work together, how they build trust and stability.
That's exactly right. It's a really dynamic space, and understanding how these two domains interact is just crucial now. We really want to clarify not just what they are, but how that synergy, that working together, forms the bedrock of a secure, trustworthy company.
Okay, let's dive in then. First pillar, cybersecurity. We often think of it as, building the digital shield, stopping attacks. And if something gets through, because let's face it, nothing's ever totally foolproof. It's about controlling the damage, right? But what are we actually trying to protect? What are the sort of core elements here?
Well, fundamentally, it boils down to what we call the CIA triad. That's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those are the basics. Confidentiality is pretty straightforward, keeping sensitive stuff private. Only authorized people should see it. And breaches here aren't always hackers, social engineering attacks. Someone calling it, asking for your social security number. That's a direct hit on confidentiality, exploiting people, not just code.
That's a really important point. So many breaches do start with that human factor, not some, super complex hack. Okay, so confidentiality is keeping secrets. Integrity, that sounds like keeping things true. Is that right? What does that mean digitally?
Exactly. Integrity is all about ensuring data hasn't been messed with, that what you receive is exactly what was sent. Think about critical emails, financial instructions maybe. If someone intercepts that and just slightly tweaks, it changes one digit in an account number. That's an alteration attack. That's a breach of integrity. The data isn't trustworthy anymore. And the consequences, potentially catastrophic for a business.
Wow, yeah. That idea that data could be silently changed.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. Okay, and the last part of the triad, availability.
Availability just guarantees that systems and information are there when you need them. Accessible. If your website goes down or your internal apps or you can't get to your data, that's an availability breach. The classic example is a denial of service attack, a DOS attack. It just overwhelms the system so legitimate users can't get in. For an online store, even a few hours of that could mean huge revenue loss, serious damage to their reputation. So cybersecurity is really about protecting against those three things: confidentiality, integrity, availability, and also, crucially, training your people. Building awareness.
Right. So organizations are building these digital defenses, protecting data, systems, training staff. But just having defenses isn't quite enough, is it? In the real world, how do they prove to regulators, to partners, even to themselves, that they're the right defenses, that they meet expectations? Because just doing security doesn't automatically mean you can prove you're secure when someone asks. That's where compliance comes in, isn't it?
Precisely. That's exactly the link. Compliance is basically the process of meeting a set of standards. And these standards can come from lots of places. Governments, obviously, laws and regulations, but also things like third-party agreements, contracts you have with other businesses, even industry groups set standards. And, the amount and type of compliance you need, that really depends on your business, where you operate. It's not one size fits all.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The consequences for not complying, they can be way bigger than just dealing with a cyber attack itself. We're talking serious stuff here. Big fines, people losing their jobs. In really extreme cases, even jail time. Like with HIPAA in healthcare, a single violation could mean fines up to $50,000. But if it's malicious, like selling patient data, it could be $250,000, 10 years in prison. That's, yeah.
Hey, absolutely. Those are powerful incentives. And beyond the direct legal hits, there's the reputational damage, which can be enormous. A lot of regulations actually require you to publicly announce data breaches. The immediate result, often a big drop in stock price, customers losing trust, partners maybe backing away.
There was that big Uber breach back in 2016, right? That's a classic example mentioned in the sources. Something like 25 million names, emails, phone numbers stolen. But the real kicker was how Uber handled it. They didn't announce it for over a year. Apparently, they paid the hackers $100,000 to keep quiet. So when it finally came out in 2018, $148 million fine. And their former security chief got probation, fined too. And the key point was, if they just announced it up front, been transparent, they would have been considered compliant in that respect. The cover-up made it so much worse.
Exactly. That transparency piece is huge in compliance. It's not just about prevention, it's about the proper response too. And it's not always regulators. You could lose vital licenses needed to sell your product. That's a massive economic hit. Or in the private sector, simply breaking a contract due to non-compliance can kill partnerships, cause major business disruption.
Okay, so given all that potential pain, how do organizations actually manage this tangled web?
Well, it usually starts inside. Often there's a central compliance officer, a CCO, or a team. Their job is basically to map out all the rules, state, local, federal, industry, figure out what applies, and make sure the company is following them, and report on it. But it's not just internal. When you work with third parties, vendors, cloud services, partners, and La Frona, there are external requirements too, often things like annual reports, attestations, and yeah, there are penalties if you get those wrong or missed deadlines. You hear terms like due diligence, that's checking up on your partners, and due care, that's managing your own internal processes properly. And ultimately, senior executives usually have to formally sign off, attest to the company's compliance status. They take formal responsibility.
Okay, so cybersecurity is the doing, building the defenses. Compliance is the proving, showing you meet the standards, holding people accountable. How do they actually bring these together in practice to build that resilience we talked about?
That's where standardized frameworks and security best practices really shine. Frameworks like ISO 27001, NIST, SOC. These aren't just suggestions, they're widely accepted blueprints. They guide how you design, implement, and manage your security, and companies choose them based on their specific needs. If you handle credit cards, you have to use PCI DSS. Healthcare data, it's IEAAA. So these frameworks ensure your security efforts are targeted, they're auditable, and they actually address the right risks for your business. And just quickly, privacy is related but distinct. It's more about the rules for handling personal data, PII. Laws like GDPR or API-Pay enforce how you manage that data.
Okay, right. So it's not just a random checklist. It's about integrating everything strategically. Which brings us to GRC, right? Governance, risk, and compliance. Sounds like the framework that pulls it all together, connects IT with the business goals, manages risk, keeps an eye on regulations.
Exactly. GRC is the strategic glue holding it all together. Let's break it down. Governance is about setting the direction. Policies, roles, who's accountable, making sure security actually supports the business. So, imagine that online candle business again. Governance means planning the security for their website, payment system, customer database, making sure it supports selling candles securely.
Okay, makes sense. And risk management then?
Risk management is the ongoing process, identifying threats, assessing vulnerabilities, figuring out the potential impact for risk, and then putting controls in place to lower that risk to an acceptable level. You can't eliminate all risk, obviously, and crucially, this includes third-party risk management. If you share data with a partner, you absolutely need to check their security, send them questionnaires, look at their certifications. You need to know your data is safe with them too. It's about your whole ecosystem.
Right, doing your due diligence on partners. Okay. And compliance is the last piece of the GRC puzzle.
Compliance is kind of the enforcement and proof part. It's demonstrating you're following the rules, the best practices, the business objectives you set out. How do you prove it? By getting formal security certifications and reports based on those frameworks like ISO or SOC2. These aren't just nice to haves, they are tangible proof. They minimize the risk of breaches, fines, reputation damage. Honestly, without certain certifications, many potential customers or partners just won't work with you. There's no verified trust.
So GRC is this whole system, strategy, execution, proof.
Yeah.
How do companies actually build something like that, something sustainable?
Well, they build what's called a compliance management system, or CMS. And think of a CMS less like a single piece of software and more like an integrated system. It combines policies, workflows, technology, safeguards, and people's roles, all designed to keep the organization aligned with regulations. An effective CMS usually needs three things: strong leadership oversight, the board, executives driving a culture of integrity, providing resources. Second, a comprehensive compliance framework, detailed, documented programs covering guidelines, training, monitoring, everything written down. And third, thorough compliance evaluations. Regular internal audits, yes, but also those critical third-party audits. These audits really test your controls, make sure your defenses are keeping up with threats, and companies might manage this differently. Could be top-down, could be more empowering employees, could be shared responsibility. Depends on the company culture.
Okay, so practically speaking, day to day, what are the actual steps a company takes?
It boils down to a continuous cycle, really. First, adaptation. Always checking which compliance rules and frameworks apply as the business changes. Second, auditing. Doing your internal checks, definitely. But the big one is getting those external security audits. You really can't self-certify effectively. You need an independent third party to come in, test everything rigorously, and issue that certification if you pass. That external validation is key. And third is monitoring, just constantly watching, keeping an eye on systems, processes, looking for changes, anomalies. This is where automation is huge. Setting up alerts for weird activity, like someone logging in who shouldn't be, catching things quickly.
It really sounds like technology isn't just helpful anymore, it's absolutely essential for managing all this complexity.
Oh, completely. Analytics and tech are transforming GRC. For risk management, data analytics helps you classify risks, report on them clearly. Dashboards give leaders a quick view, help them make fast decisions based on data. For compliance, analytics makes audit reporting way easier. Visualizations show progress, flag issues instantly. Auditors can spot problems in massive data sets much faster. You see specific tools now, like OneTrust for managing third-party risk dashboards, or RSA Archer for handling incidents and overall GRC. Tech enables that real-time awareness and response.
And weaving all this together, the tech, the processes, you need the right people. What kind of skills are really crucial in GRC today?
Yeah, it's a blend. You need solid technical understanding. Maybe not coding daily, but understanding code helps. Definitely need database knowledge. Cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, GCP are everywhere now. And of course, a strong grasp of cybersecurity fundamentals, the frameworks we've discussed. Beyond that, data skills are huge. Data visualization, Tableau, Power BI, turning raw data into something people can understand, data analysis itself, and then the competencies. Critical thinking is massive. Analytical problem solving, and really strong communication skills, explaining complex issues to different audiences, getting buy-in across the organization.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up for everyone listening. If we simplify it right down, cybersecurity is building the walls, the defenses, protecting your digital stuff. But compliance, that provides the blueprint, the rulebook, the accountability. It verifies those defenses are actually effective, meet the rules, and align with the business. It seems like it's the critical link that turns security actions into real organizational resilience, into trust.
That's a great way to summarize it. It truly is that link. And maybe a final thought to consider, looking ahead, with threats and regulations always changing, how might things like AI and machine learning getting deeper into GRC tools, or the growing global focus on data privacy, or even more cloud-based GRC, how might these continue to change how companies build and prove their security? You know, what does compliance even look like when AI is managing large parts of your security automatically? Something to think about.